Welcome back to Spilling and Spiraling, where we've spent the last week scrolling through the marketing news so you don't have to. We're changing it up a little bit, so let's get into it and spill. First up, Crocs has officially entered the Mascot group chat. They've introduced Niles, a 6-foot tall crocodile who is now joining the ranks from Duo from Duolingo and Grimace from McDonald's. Crocs has been teasing this for a few months now across their socials, and the timing makes sense as it lines up perfectly with their 25-year anniversary. But here's the twist that they're adding in that we love, is that they're not only positioning Niles as a static brand ambassador, but they're also saying he's going to be more like a sitcom character with layers,
Oh my
adding
God.
personality arcs and ongoing storylines. I've got to say, this sounds like such a smart move. Not only has Crocs had like a full-blown resurgence, I feel like within the last few years, where they're suddenly cool again to wear, back from when at least I was a kid. But they have mascots now too, so they're completely memeable, and you just have the ability to have them fully present in your content.
Yeah,
One thing,
totally. I am obsessed with Crocs now because, like, oh my gosh, I have so many regrets. Like, they reached out to me when I was doing my Disney influencing and asked me to
stop.
do a campaign for them, and I said no because at the time they like weren't cool, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, is this too nerdy? Like, I don't know, this isn't my vibe. But now I just wear them all the time.
Right. Well, I remember like middle school me in a church doing that after church kind of thing. I had Crocs. I thought it was so cool. And then it just kind of, this Crocs was still around. And to me, it was always surprising that they were able to like stick it through.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I just got my first pair of Crocs again since I was that age. And they're like a camo Croc. And my boyfriend definitely makes fun of me for them. But I love them. And now you can make them, with an accessory and everything. So I think adding a mascot to this brand makes so much sense
Yeah,
overall.
absolutely. Okay, next, I want to talk about denim because denim is making a comeback. We've all seen these celebrity brand campaigns forever, but what is really interesting right now is how a celebrity moment can quickly pivot into influencing what we want to buy. So Cardi B recently just did a campaign with Old Navy, not to mention all the other people who have recently been doing campaigns with Old Navy. We've seen people like Sierra Miller from Summer House, Rob Roush, Cardi B, Kathy Hilton, Paris Hilton. Everybody is working with Old Navy right now. But it's not just Old Navy either. We're also seeing other people working with other brands. For example, Charlie Puth is working with Lucky. Hailey Bieber is working with Gap to bring back the 90s nostalgia. So, I mean, I've been seeing the Gap campaign just about everywhere also. It's really hot right now. And whereas before I feel like the legging thing was really hot, now denim is making its comeback. But then we're also looking into kind of what's in and out with denim. So what I'm seeing, and we will link articles and our sources and everything in the description of our notes. But from what I've seen, what's out right now is ultra tight ankle jeans, exaggerated boot cut jeans with really big flares, overly distressed jeans. This one I'm really sad about, the crop jeans with the frayed hemline, and then crop wide leg jeans as well, which like I love a crop jean because I am short. So that was that. But what's in right now is indigo jeans. I'm seeing that everywhere as part of that Cardi B campaign. There's the cigarette jean, which to me just kind of looks like a straight leg jean. High rise, slim flares, sculptural silhouettes with exaggerated cuffs. That I'm not really into, but I say that now and then watch, I'm gonna end up doing it. And then like a long and loose jean, like the low rise kind of thing. And I used to say I'll never wear a low rise jean, but now I do. I like it. So, what we all learn
I,
is changing.
I can't get on that trend with you. I'm so sorry.
You say this now, and then you will change your mind because they're comfy.
I like that it tucks everything in for me, like a
That's what
high-waisted
I thought
jean.
too.
But I will say it does sound interesting because I feel like skinny jean was the jean for so long.
So
And
long.
maybe that's my interpretation of it, but I feel like until it was deemed uncool, it was like a long runner for like 10 years. From like when I
From
was in high school to
like
right
middle
when I was, yeah. So I think that it's interesting now that Gene is kind of expanding and there's all of these different, it feels like it's kind of going back before us in high school era. So like before the 2010s and like really going back to what a Gene used to be.
I'm fine with the low rise thing. The thing is, like, I don't want my stomach out because I'm older. I'm in my 30s. Like, I don't want my. I love a crop top with a high rise, but then I like a low rise with an
Yes.
oversized shirt. Like, I don't want what happened in the early 2000s where we have the low rise with like the little
Tankini
top.
or whatever. Yeah.
I don't want that.
No, I agree. I agree.
I mean,
Maybe one
girls can
day.
pull it off, just not me. I don't want to do
Right.
that.
Well, and that's the thing with jeans. They're so versatile. Like you have the ability to style it any way you want. I've also seen though that like jean sales based on articles online are going up just because of people going back into the office and people having to wear, not suits or anything as formal anymore, but it's a more casual environment for us. So I think that's another thing that's probably bringing this like group of people to keep reinventing the jean. And then like last year, obviously there was Sydney Sweeney who did that very controversial ad where it had the whole internet talking. But it started something that I think it was called like the jeans war, where like it had people talking. And people do say that that's like there's no such thing, you're good at bad press.
Bad
I
press
don't
is good
necessarily
press.
believe that, but
Yeah.
people say it. And I think that kind of like started this whole like war on jeans with like being able to market it and bring in these, people that can be ambassadors for these brands.
Yeah, and it's making the jeans fly off the shelves to having those ambassadors, which is so funny because I always felt like, I don't know, not celebrity branding being dead, but more like people were looking for more authenticity, like more, I don't know.
Well, I think in that Cardi B ad, there's some influencers in the commercial as well. So I think
Interesting.
it was a little bit mix of both. I mean, TikTok, people can try the product on right then and there. Old Navy, as an example, like influencers for fashion, I see them all the time at Old Navy trying things on. And I mean, Old Navy's one where like I shopped as a kid and then kind of dropped off, and now I'm like back at it again. So I think it's a combination of being able to do everything and appeal to multiple different groups rather than just like keep yourself on the in a narrow path of like who
Yeah,
you're targeting to.
totally.
All right, big brands went on a shopping spree in 2026. Brands are always shopping for growth, and 2026 has given us some of the biggest mergers and acquisition moves you might have missed across fashion, nutrition, and even the pantry aisle. First up, Bays, which was created by Shay Mitchell from Pretty Little Liars. And her luxury brand basically made travel bags a fashion accessory again. Samsonite is acquiring 85% of the company for a little under $200 million in cash. And it's actually the company itself is valued at a little over 2 million. So Shay is going to be keeping 15% ownership and staying on as the founder and head of creative and design. And the deal is expected to close, according to reports that we're seeing and articles, in Q4. And it's a classic scale meets cool partnership. I think this was one no one was truly seeing, but I mean, I know it's a goal for brands to be acquired or merged. So good for them. That'll be exciting to see how that changes in the future. Then in
Mm.
nutrition, Danone is known for their yogurt business. They are buying, I don't want to butcher this, Huel. It is a protein drink and meal replacement brand with a cult following in fitness and tech circles. It's doubling down on its performance nutrition. And as we've all probably seen over the last few years, especially on TikTok, protein is kind of everywhere. And in stores, you might see it as well. Packaging has changed quite a bit to
Yeah.
showcase that the
Speaking of
products
which,
themselves
on that,
actually have protein. Yes.
speaking of which, I just bought the other day protein soft pretzels.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was such a
I
weird one, but
I've started buying protein crackers and they taste really good. So like,
Yeah.
I feel like you put protein in something and it can go either way. It could be really bad or really good. I saw that they made recently protein Pop Tarts, which
I saw
it
that.
really isn't that different from if you look at the nutritional label from the regular Pop Tarts. Obviously, they've added a little more protein, but still very carb heavy. So it just seems like everyone's kind of slapping that protein label on their product when possible.
Yeah. I have
Uh,
a feeling that the next thing they'll start slapping is fiber.
yes, fiber maxing is definitely a trend. And it's recommended that women get between 25 and 28 grams of fiber. So I know I have not been hitting that in the last 2 years at least. And there are a lot of brands already that, like Gruen's is a gummy brand that is backed by a lot of celebrities and influencers. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Lem brand, which is Kourtney
Mm.
Kardashian's brand, possibly getting into it. Yes, that is a big, big one for sure. And then lastly, the most recent one I saw was McCormick is acquiring Unilever's entire sauce business or their spice business for a few $1 billion. So it's going to include their bouillon, their sauces, and their seasonings.
Wow, interesting. So the thing that I heard too is I don't know if you've heard about the conflict with Ben and Jerry's and Unilever, but I follow Ben. And basically, if you haven't heard about it, the conflict is over political activism because that's one of the main things that Ben and Jerry's started their business on, like being able to promote those values and not have that level of censorship. But however, Unilever did acquire Ben and Jerry's, and also it looks like co-founder Jerry resigned because of all this. And I still see all the time Ben's Instagram posts all over social about like boycotting Unilever and Magnum products specifically. So I think it's just really interesting. Like, of course, I also think there's no such thing as fully ethical consumerism either, but definitely just kind of like being mindful of those things. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're the same thing. McCormick working with Unilever on that, but like that is a name that I have been hearing and has been not the best news from what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these, I think when I was researching, just sounded really surprising that they're making all of these moves in the back end, and a lot of them you don't really hearing of. So that's
Yeah.
interesting to dive into.
Yeah, the next thing we want to talk about is the great dating app Pivot. So this one made me laugh because I think we've officially reached that point where dating apps are trying to get people to stop using the app, which is so funny to me. But for years, the dating app experience was basically get the app, make a profile, swipe, match, message, repeat. Hopefully meet somebody, hopefully you fall in love, but a lot of times, didn't happen. So I feel like what these companies are realizing is that people are really tired of the dating game, that swipe fatigue. They're burnt out from this kind of dating. And younger users are increasingly looking for ways to meet people that's more natural and less like shopping on Amazon. So Tinder is a really good example of this. They're adding ways to meet people in real life. So they launched an events feature where you can find things like bowling, pottery classes, raves, speakeasies, things like that. Anywhere you can go to hang out and potentially meet somebody. And then they're also testing virtual speed dating as well, which sounds like lots of fun, where you get 3 minutes with someone as kind of a vibe check before deciding if you want to keep talking to them. And as of now, as of this month, Tinder is expanding those in real life events to 26 cities globally with plans to reach 75 by the end of 2026. What's kind of funny about that is that Tinder was built to get rid of that awkwardness of meeting people in real life. But now they're basically saying, let's go back to meeting people in real life. So it's kind of just like more of a facilitator at this point, which I actually think is a good thing.
Yeah,
And
I think the global pandemic obviously shifted a lot, and I think working from home and all of these other factors that kind of played into it, you're missing that people connection a little bit, and so it's nice to see that a brand is trying to change it up a little bit. I know there are other brands and things outside of these main dating apps where they're creating in-person events. There's one in Dallas called The Dating, I believe is what it's called. And it started on a girl that was on the Katy walk outdoor walking area, just getting people to like randomly date there. And I recently just saw that they had their first proposal, like
Oh,
someone who met
cute.
early on in the early stages, they're now engaged and going to be married. So yeah, I would say it's an interesting thing that's happening.
Yeah, totally. And then you have things like Bumble. They're changing one of the things that made it who it was in the first place, which is the rule that women have to make the first move. Which is a huge signal because their original differentiator was built around changing the traditional dating dynamic. So I think now the industry is realizing that the old rules and the way things were working wasn't really what people wanted anymore. And they're shifting with the culture, which is always a good thing. Sometimes you have to pivot the product that you have in order for it to grow and adjust to the times, which I think is so important.
Yeah. What I think is interesting too is the founder of Bumble created Tinder back in the day. So, she created Tinder with a group of people and then she left that and then started and founded Bumble. And now you can see they're clearly doing two separate things. They're taking their own path on how to solve this.
Yeah.
And I think as someone who was on dating apps like 2 years ago, you're running into a lot of like people not wanting to like really go on dates outside of this app. Like they want to create this false connection with you, or they're saying, "Oh, we're not looking for
Or the
anything
ghost you.
serious." Yeah, but the thing too is if they say that they're looking for something serious on their profile and then like you message them and they're like, "No, I'm not." Or they're being hidden behind like a privacy wall in the app and it's like you need to pay us, but then you do and you're still not meeting and you're seeing the same people over and over again. So yeah, I think there has to be some sort of change. And I don't know between what Bumble's doing and what Tinder's doing, like what's really going to be the breakout star. It'll be interesting to see what Hinge maybe does, as they're another big
Yeah.
player in the space.
I would appreciate these features though for like making friends because I know that there's Bumble for making friends and everything, but just like the organizing and maybe that is part of it now, but like organizing those events, I would go.
Yeah, that I think Bumble BFF kind of fell by the wayside. But that's how we met. We met through not Bumble, but through an in-person
But that's the
event.
thing, like, we met through an event, like a not a club, but like a group get together. So
Yeah,
I feel like that I'd be more excited to do because I'm not trying to date. Like, I'm not trying to swipe on, I
yeah.
want you to be my friend, but like, I'll go to an event and meet people organically. That sounds fun.
Right. I wonder if they think because, like, you can join a group for like women in marketing or
Yeah.
whatever, and you can go and typically there'll be events for that. But that is so specialized in a lot of ways that it would be nice to have. I think you're starting to see that more on social media though. People are like, oh, hey, like you're into crafting. Like we get together X, Y, and Z days. Or, oh, you like sports. I know there's people that do needle pointing at baseball games or they do knitting at basketball games. So, and again, I'm in the 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 crafting view of it all, but I do think you're starting to see more of that. But again, outside of these traditional avenues of
Yeah.
matchmaking.
I will say too, there was this like one Facebook group I joined when I first moved to Dallas and it was like for making friends. So I reached out to a few people to like hang out because I didn't know anybody and it
Right.
it was just super awkward. It was not
Yeah.
for
No,
me.
it typically, I feel like it is. It's never going to be as easy as it was to make a friend back in elementary school. And when you were like,
Yeah.
oh, you like the color blue? Me too. Like, let's hang
Yeah.
out. So there's always an awkward part of making friends. I feel like once you're outside of college,
Yeah.
it's hard for sure.
Totally.
All right, everybody. Artificial colors are on the chopping block. As you probably have already heard, last year the FDA announced that all petroleum-based synthetic food dyes have been removed from or need to be removed from foods by January 2027. And a lot of brands have already started reformulating. One example of that is PepsiCo's Simply Naked line with their Cheetos and Doritos chips. Mars is the company behind Skittles, Starburst, and M&M's, just to name a few. And they've also started to work on their transition. The new versions without artificial dyes appear to already be available on Amazon. And Claire Hewitt, their senior director of ingredient transformation, even went on Good Morning America last week to give their news crew an inside look. She said that the biggest challenges were vibrancy and scale because they're using colors found in nature now. So they use beet juice for red, turmeric for yellow, and then a combination of those plus spirulina for green. And the point that she also wanted to let you know is that blue and brown are actually the hardest colors to get right. They have even spent the last year interviewing their consumers, getting the general vibe that people are going to be fine with the color changes as they are likely to be less vibrant. But as long as the taste remains the same, they are okay with it. And I also, when I was like reading through all these articles, I thought the brown piece was such an interesting tidbit because I don't know if you've ever seen the rom-com The Wedding Planner with Matthew McConaughey and J-Lo. Eminem was in that movie and he was like, oh, I only eat the brown ones because, it's the closest, it's the same color as chocolate. And in my head, as growing up as a kid, I was like, oh, that's always the one with the less artificial dyes.
Yeah, you would
No,
think.
it sounds like it's not. It sounds like or maybe it's just harder to find that natural color.
Coating.
Yeah, in nature, which makes sense, but also, yeah. So that was a little interesting one.
Well, that too, like, I would hope that they taste the same because thinking about yellow using turmeric, I feel like that's a strong taste.
Yeah, I will say in the news video, the reporter kind of like closed her eyes and held her hand out, and Claire kind of gave her a sampling of one of the M&Ms and then a sampling of the other, and she said she could not taste the difference. But
Well, that's exciting.
yeah, so and I would hope they're staying accurate on their opinions there. But yeah, I don't know, like as long as the taste doesn't change, I agree. But for me, like I'm gonna miss seeing those vibrant colors, even though it's good for us.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be like, oh, that's just another thing that has changed for us in the flavor world. And then I guess my question is that when this goes into effect officially, like January 2027, it's probably going to take some time for the older products to get off shelf. Just as a girly who was in supply chain, you can't just, I mean, unless you pull everything from the shelf and then I don't know what you do with it. I don't think you burn it, but yeah, what do you do with it in that sense? But
You just burn your Fruit Loops.
yeah, so that'll be an interesting one to see what happens in January.
Yeah, interesting. Well, my kids have been on a real Fruit Loops kick lately. But actually, speaking of cereal, not to like pivot, but they did just buy the Soulja Boys K-pop Demon Hunters Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's just regular Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Like the Soulja Boys are just on it, but it is a secret mystery flavor. And I was like, what is this? I like popped a few in my mouth this morning while I was giving them breakfast, and I was like, it tastes weird. And then I looked it up, and the secret flavor is soda pop.
Oh, interesting.
I was like,
Well,
Cinnamon Toast
okay.
Crunch, no.
Oh, but that makes sense because
Yeah,
that's
it
their
does.
song. But no, I don't know. I guess I never paid too much mind of like reading what's in the products that I was consuming. I do so when it comes to like, saturated fat and protein and fiber, but never like the small font that they include on the boxes.
Yeah.
But we are definitely in an era where that seems like what everyone is doing. And, I'm not necessarily against us trying to reformulate things for it to be deemed more nutritious in that way. But still, I really hope that like these products don't change too much because, they're what we know and what we love.
What are they going to do about the blue Talkies? I wonder.
See, that's a great question. I don't know.
Well, that's why
someone somewhere.
I'm like, oh, the blue is unnatural. What is the blue? I don't know. It's not a chili. The red ones, it's like you could be chili powder.
I will also say I found another article. Again, as Susan said, we'll link these, but the FDA is definitely trying to tighten up on how any new food ingredient gets approved. So like it seems to be having to be some sort of process of like what you can and can't use. And you have to
Interesting.
like document it and everything. Cause I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that would all work, but yeah, it does sound like they are taking steps to make sure that it's not anything to replace that blue flavor in that Taki.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, our next topic is that the Disney fans got fed this last weekend. And that is because D23 just happened. Oh my gosh, I wish I was there. It looked so fun. I've
Next
been
time.
not to like any of the panels, but I've been in the past to the expo and it was so much fun. I remember I made a video with a friend that was like the Disney Channel, like down, 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 down. It was so fun. But so they released all their projects that they've been working on. Some I'm excited about, some I'm not. So I'll get into it. First, Disney animation. We have Frozen 3 and Incredibles 3, Coco 2, which I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Miguel's haircut, but everyone's like roasting it on the internet.
Big stir up. People were not happy about that.
I actually like don't mind it. I mean, I think it's funny. It would be worse, honestly, if he had the top ramen hair.
Yeah, it's a way to show age progression, I feel. And also like when that movie came out, I don't really remember what year it was, but like, the Justin Bieber swoop was in for a while, and then all those guys eventually got the shorter haircut. So I think
Yeah.
it's, it makes sense.
Yeah. Zootopia 3 is going to be coming out as well. Marvel released that they're going to have a new cast of X-Men, and then Avengers Doomsday, which I cannot stop hearing about from my son, will not stop on it. And then Vision Quest, which I'm pumped for that because WandaVision was my favorite show.
Yes. Did you see the trailer? It looks really good.
It does look really good. I'm excited for that. Okay, but going back like half a step, I do feel as if a lot of these are going to be sequels, and then I'll keep going, but like that is the part I'm a little bit disappointed in. Lucasfilms is launching Star Wars Starfighter, who is going to star Ryan Gosling. The Bluey movie, that actually looks really cute, will be released next August. We have Tangled live action, which is going to feature Catherine Hahn as Mother Gothel, which there is no other option for that. So
Yes.
yeah.
Perfection.
Yeah. Princess Diaries 3 with Anne Hathaway, another Simpsons movie. The one of the original ideas I saw was Gato, which is a new Pixar movie that will be released.
Is it about a cat? I'm assuming? Okay, yeah.
The one that looks really cute actually is Hexed, which is a coming of age magical movie about a little witchling. Walton Goggins is going to be in it as well. And Haley Steinfeld.
He's been in a lot of things recently. I feel like
It's his
after
moment.
Billy Baby Bobby or whatever, I can never get it right.
Uncle Billy.
Yeah, he's and then he was in, oh my gosh, what's that show? White Lotus.
Yeah, White Lotus.
Yeah, he's been popping off on everything, so it's been great.
You know what? My mom and I call that, we're obsessed with Nacho Libre, so we always say it's his glory day in the hot sun. So he's having it. What else? We have, so Hex looks super cute, and then there's another one called Ghost Street, which is like a ghost hunters kind of movie, which also looks cute, and that one will be in 2028. Ice Age Boiling Point, a Kingdom Hearts movie series, which the gamers out there will love, and then an Oswald TV miniseries, which looks cool. Are you familiar with Oswald? Do you know what that is?
I am not, but isn't that who's the actor that was associated?
Catherine Hahn is going to be in it.
But there was the actor that like announced it at Disney.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't think I saw the announcement on that one. But Oswald, like everyone thinks Mickey Mouse was the first Walt Disney cartoon. It was actually Oswald that was the first Walt Disney cartoon. So if you ever see him at California Adventure, sometimes Oswald's running around. But yeah, I think he's cute.
It was Jon Favreau that announced it at D23, which
cute.
Love him.
Yeah. Happy. And then we have a lot of sequels and season 2s. We're going to have a Lilo and Stitch 2 live action focused around Angel. I don't know if we need that, but okay. And then lots of season 2 series. So there's going to be Scrubs, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I've been watching and I actually like. Spidey and His Amazing Friends season 7. There's also going to be a Cars show on Disney Junior, which looks cute. Imagineering Story season 2, which I'm obsessed with the Imagineering Story, so I'm excited for that continuation. Percy Jackson and the Olympians season 3.
Just started watching that series, finished it. So good. So
Really? Okay, I'm
excited.
gonna watch
Yes.
it. I need to
I
show.
I've loved the movies. I know that's controversial because like a lot of people were like, it left out so much, and the show definitely helps fill in a lot of that. But yes, no, it's super good.
Yeah. I mean, that's most of the sequels and everything, but I will say, like, my criticism is that I think, is a lack of original ideas. Sure, we got maybe like 3 to 4 original projects, but a lot of it are recreations, sequels. We're playing
In
off the
that
back.
era though, like we're in that era of like people that's what they're doing. They're trying to
But
hit
will
our
we ever come out of
nostalgia.
it? I'm sick of it.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like but that's whatever like for TV shows, right? They're doing podcasts now to go over the TV shows and like they're hitting on this market of nostalgia that we do love. And some of these I don't necessarily hate, right?
Yeah.
Like Zootopia 3, I loved 1 and 2. So and that's a newer idea at least. So I love that they're doing that. It does interesting because there was so much gap between the first and the second one. Now it kind of seems like, oh, they know it's a popular one. We need to. I mean, it's 2029. It takes a while, obviously, for people to voice and create and think through and design. But the fact that they're already announcing it is a big step. Incredibles
Well,
3,
and
I
they're gonna
saw that
have Zootopia land in Animal Kingdom, so I kind of think that's part of it.
they need to align it, which goes back to that podcast episode I was talking about last week, Business Wars, where they talk about the Disney and the Universal of it all. But with Incredibles 3,
Sorry, I was gonna
what?
say, I was telling my husband that you were listening to that. I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, Lisa's been listening to InfoWars." He was like, "What?"
InfoWars.
It's like, oh my gosh, that crazy guy. It's like very conservative, crazy dude. And
Oh
she
yeah,
was like,
the
"What are you
switch up.
talking about?" I was like, "No, Business Wars, sorry."
Yep, quite different.
Alex Jones. That's who it is. The guy that's
No,
like, "They're poisoning the water and they're turning the frogs gay."
no, that's my ex-boyfriend. Not that guy, but my ex-boyfriend would do that. Listen to that. Anywho, Incredibles 3, I love Incredibles 1. Incredibles 2 was good. Incredibles 3, they said is going to be focused on the kids. Should be interesting. I don't know. And yeah, obviously, Ryan Gosling being Ghost Rider, that is a fan request. And I do love that Disney's like listening to us
Yeah.
as a fan request. Because what was the other one? Oh, to put Catherine Hahn in Tangled. That
Yeah.
was a fan casting.
But here's
So
my thing about that, though, is like with these live actions, give us a spin on it. Like Maleficent did, it gave us a spin on like, here's the backstory. I want a movie about Mother Gothel. Like I've been listening to those villain books by Serena Valentino, and it's like the villains' backstories. I want that. I want the backstory. I want Cruella. I think that one was good. But give
love
me
that one. And they're supposed to be doing a second one of that, a second movie of Cruella.
But then, oh yeah, I saw Glenn Close was there as her original Cruella
Yes.
self.
Yeah.
But then I just actually watched that movie like days before that. And
The Glenn
first
Close
of all,
version?
yeah, the live
Okay.
action one was really unhinged.
Yeah. I mean, for the time, that sounds probably accurate.
Like Anita and Roger get married within 24 hours of knowing each other. I was like, what is this?
We really wanted to push that getting married young thing or quickly thing on us as kids.
They really did.
I will say the one I don't know how I'm feeling about is Princess Diaries 3.
Do we need another
Because
one?
I don't know. And they're not, if they don't bring back Chris Pine, because I think he said in an interview he would do it. If they don't bring him back, I'm going to be so mad. And then obviously Julie Andrews is not going to be in it. She recently came out saying that she wouldn't be in it. So totally respect that decision. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to feel the same. And honestly, Anne Hathaway right now, she's in it so much. I
Doing the
don't
most.
understand how she has all this time. I mean, good for her. She's staying booked and busy, but she is doing quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, and then kind of moving on to the theme parks and experiences. Wait, before actually I do that, I do have a good story about D23. My roommates, my college roommates, her and her wife, they were at D23, and years ago, it was like a thing for you whenever you got so many Disney DVDs, you got these credits. Once you had enough credits, you qualified for a Disney Studios tour. And so I remember my roommate, she was saving up all her credits, and she was like, just so you know, if we get enough, I'll take you and your husband. And so we went to do this like studio tour. We had this amazing tour guide. We got to see the whole campus and everything. And it was so funny because they actually ended up going to D23 this year, and they saw our tour guide from 8 years ago and
Wow.
like took a picture with her. I was like, what the heck, you guys? Like,
What are
that's
the odds?
crazy. Yeah. But my husband was like, that's kind of crazy that you guys remembered her because I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, in a sea of people, you just
Yeah.
happen to find them. That is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the theme parks experiences though. Magic Kingdom is going to have a Villains Land, which is going to have a lot of Maleficent. There's going to be a coaster, a mirror realm, catacombs ride. That is a mouthful. And then also in Magic Kingdom, they're going to have a Cars Ridge Run Rally, also a mouthful. And then Miss Fritter's Daredevil Spin Along. So those are a couple things coming to Magic Kingdom. Epcot and Hollywood Studios, they're going to be redoing Figment Journey to Imagination. And then Spaceship Earth is getting its first major story update in about 20 years. That is going to focus on human connection. And Hollywood Studios, they're going to debut Monstropolis with its door coaster, which I've said since day one. We need this door coaster. I've said this since I was 7 years old and Monsters Inc. came out. Like, we need this as a ride.
Yeah, I'm excited. That sounds like a fun one. Monsters
Yeah.
Inc. is like one of my top Disney movies, I think.
Yeah, I love Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. So cute. Magic Kingdom and or not Magic, Animal Kingdom and Disneyland. So they're finally fixing the broken animatronic, which I'm like, why is that an announcement? Yeah, you should be fixing the animatronic. Come on.
They
That is
needed, they
crazy.
needed something.
God. And then they're going to be reimagining Tomorrowland, which should be cool. Which there has been this little structure. I swear it wasn't the Carousel of Progress. Maybe it was. It was a long time ago, but they had like a full story in this rotating building in Tomorrowland. And then all of a sudden they got changed to like Marvel meet and greet, Star Wars meet and greet. It was just kind of this lame space. So I'm kind of hoping they turn it into something cool. And then they have a new cruise ship that they announced that will be setting sail in 2027, which will have Buzz and Woody on the front of the ship. It's called the Believe, which, mind you, I made my child believe that Buzz and Woody have been going around our house like the elf on the shelf. So he
Fits
thinks
in nicely.
yeah. And then they're going to be doing a Lion King ride in Disneyland Paris, which will be the first Lion King ride at any of the parks, which should be cute.
Yeah. Sounds for sure like Disney fans got fed at D23. Maybe one day we'll be able to go. I don't know if you saw the TikTok of the people that dressed up as like a soda cup with a little straw and then like a hamburger looking type thing, like they were a part of a Happy Meal that they created. So, and like people were filming them as they were walking into D23, which I just thought was funny.
That's cute.
And then with the whole like villains land of it all, I will say that I think with the new Epic Universe at Universal, this could be a way for them to compete in that space. And I think it's a smart move to include, but it does seem kind of like a way for them to keep up their parks and create more demand for people to show up.
My caveat with that is like, I'm interested because Magic Kingdom is a park for the entire family. How are they going to make that not scary for little kids? Because I can imagine my 7-year-old being afraid to go into Villains Land. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll have to do it tactically.
Yeah. Put it to the side maybe so it's not up in the front of the
Yeah.
park.
Been taken over.
Yeah. All right. AI is thirsty and Liquid Death is donating pee. Liquid Death and Jason Kelsey are fighting AI data centers with, wait for it, pee.
Ooh.
Yes, you heard me correctly somewhere. My mom is probably definitely clutching her pearls, hearing me say the word pee on a podcast. So here's what's actually happening. Liquid Death teamed up with Garage Beer, which is a beer brand owned by Jason and Travis Kelsey, to launch a satirical campaign called Pea Science. So the whole joke is that the AI data centers are sucking up massive amounts of water to cool their system, which is actually true. And we've talked
Yeah.
about this on this podcast before. That's not the joke. But they are using like millions of gallons, right? And they are popping up everywhere. So Liquid Death is donating pee as an alternative cooling solution.
Oh my
Obviously,
gosh.
this is not real,
They
but
should though.
it should be. It sounds hilarious and I love it. The campaign includes a nonprofit called P for Good, a fake scientific lab, and a whole video where Jason Kelsey is basically the head of P research, giving very chaotic environmental meets frat house at a science fair. Just, I don't expect anything less. And I think it's so funny of them to do.
That's
And
so funny.
Liquid Death is clearly carving out this like very specific lane for itself because they also just a few days ago announced that they were launching a limited time collaboration with Good Wipes, which is a competitor for Dude Wipes. And
Yeah.
the product that Liquid Death is pairing it with is Scream Soda flavor. So it's, I think, just a cream soda flavor. So they're really, really leaning into this like funny marketing bit, which
Supposed to be for your butt because like I want to put
yes,
soda products on my butt.
I think it's just scented. I think it, you know, like anything, it's a scent. I don't know if you're supposed to crack open the Liquid Death drink while you're on the toilet using the Good Wipes. Who knows those intended purposes? But they are definitely leaning into this like shock factor of marketing, which Liquid Death, when they came to the market, was kind of, I mean, if you look at their packaging, it looks a little scary
Yeah.
compared to like the normal water bottles of it all. So all the power to them. And I honestly would not be surprised if they even started leading into the merch of this all because
Yeah, that's
when
funny.
you're partnering with, you're a big brand, but then you're partnering with someone like Jason Kelsey, who knows? You could have a t-shirt, you could have a koozie, a limited drop. I know me as a millennial love a limited drop. So yeah, it's a very chaotic and funny way, but also on a serious matter.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, next topic. SPF entering their villain era. So I feel like sunscreen, it's officially entering that villain phase because we've somehow gone from being told to protect our skin at all costs to a generation actively trying to get as tan as possible. So there's a trend right now called tan maxing, different from fiber maxing, if you're wondering. But people are intentionally trying to maximize their tan. So CeraVe is now launching a campaign specifically to push back against that behavior. CeraVe, they're not trying to introduce people to sunscreen for the first time. Obviously, we all know about it, but they're trying to change that behavior and what people think is desirable, which is a harder marketing problem to have. You're not just selling a product anymore. You're trying to convince someone that what they're doing is something that they shouldn't be doing and like a beauty standard in some sense. So it is interesting. I do think their approach is also pretty smart because instead of giving Gen Z another lecture about that UV damage, they're turning that into more of entertainment. So they're using for their campaigns home renovation tropes with Tyler Cameron and dermatologist Dr. Chloe Goldman essentially giving Sun Habits a renovation, which is kind of funny. So they're doing a tantrum where they destroy a tanning bed with sledgehammers and power tools. And they take that concept into the real world by renovating an outdoor space at Florida State sorority house with shade structures, sunscreen stations, and UV meters. So I think that's kind of a fun way of doing that. I think that as marketers, we really need to pay attention to CeraVe. They're meeting the audience where the conversation is instead of just telling them like, "Hey, this is bad. No more tanning." Like they're helping alongside. And the bigger takeaway, I think, is sometimes that your biggest competitor, it's not just another brand, it can be a cultural trend that is everywhere. They're not really competing against Neutrogena or Supergoop. They're competing against that desire to be tan instead of like that direct competitor. So I think that's a fun way to market, a different way to shift the narrative. And I'm actually honestly surprised that tan maxing's even a thing in this day and age because we should know better.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I've never been in a tan bed in my entire life, but I thought the whole the I don't know exactly what it's called, but the foam that you apply to get the
Yeah.
tan or the spraying version where someone does it for you. I thought that was kind of in. So it is interesting to hear that tanning beds are still around and being used. And I think the great thing too about this campaign is obviously it sounds like it's geared more towards the younger households of it all. But, it's always good to have a reminder to put on sunscreen because I know that I definitely need that reminder, even if I'm not going out in the sun. It could be the overhead lighting where you are that you need to be putting on sunscreen. So
Yeah.
it's good to have that reminder. And I like that they're meeting them where they are. They're not being scolded in any way. It's a fun take on it.
Yeah. Totally.
So Kraft Heinz is betting on marketing. They are officially in their we're working on us era. Last year, if many of you don't know, the company took a massive financial hit and they had to write down the value of several of their brands and even came up to the idea of potentially splitting Kraft Heinz into two separate companies.
Hmm.
But when their CEO stepped in to their new position in January, he basically said, let's not break up. Let's see if we can mend this relationship and if we can fix it. So earlier this year, articles stated that Kraft Heinz poured in about $600 million into product updates, pricing, marketing, sales, and research and development updates and changes. And now they're looking at adding another $100 million into mostly marketing specifically, with stating that at least 6% of their marketing or of their net sales will be used into their marketing overall. So, based on some articles that I found, typically CPG brands are spending around 3 to 5%. So, Kraft Heinz is definitely taking a step further and investing even more into their overall brand. They're going big and on fewer and louder partnerships. So they recently did a 5-year NFL deal that gives Kraft Heinz the branding across stadiums, concession stands, media, and fan experiences. And then they're also backing it up with campaigns like It Has to Be Heinz and Really Philly Good, which I think that while many of us are on streaming, there are ads now on streaming. And so, you have to make something that can be entertaining while you're having to sit there waiting for your show to come back. So I definitely think it's smart to pair it with a mascot like we talked about earlier in this episode, or to give it a fun tagline like you're seeing here.
Yeah.
And then I also saw that they dropped a limited edition lid for their ketchup bottles. It seems to be, based on my Google searching, only sold at Walmart. It wasn't announced in any article that was a Walmart exclusive, but it's basically a customized lid and it's got 3 settings: a like it, a love it, and a crazy love it. And you can twist it so that it can help you make sure you're having the right amount of ketchup for whatever it is, your barbecue, your cookout, your tailgate. Which, truthfully, it makes me sad. As I was researching this, I did try to buy it because I love ketchup, and I just think that's one of those quirky things that I was like, yeah, that would be an impulse buy for me for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed to be sold out, so I did put myself on the notify list. I found out about it 7 days too late, apparently.
Nuts. Get me one if you get one.
Yes. So Kraft Heinz is basically saying, "Hey, we're here. We're going to compete. We're going to be loud about it." So I'm really excited to see kind of maybe what else we'll see from this brand.
Yeah. I mean, so much better than the colored ketchup.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like in the early 2000s, we had the colored ketchup from Heinz that was purple or green, the weirdest colors. And it did taste a little different. I do remember that, but I loved it because it was an art. Okay, next, let's talk about Ulta Beauty. So I think that Ulta is becoming one of the more interesting beauty brands to watch right now because they're not just competing with Sephora. It's not just Sephora versus Ulta. They're competing for attention on TikTok with social commerce, creators, celebrities, and wherever people are discovering their products. So their latest move with Ice Spice is a really good example of this. They partnered with Ice Spice for their first TikTok shop campaign, which was built around her debut fragrance in Hamood. And I love this because they aren't just using a celebrity to promote a product like, you would see all the time. They're putting that celebrity in for the product discovery, the content, and the purchase of all of it. It's all in the same ecosystem. So that fragrance launched August 19th exclusively through Ulta and Ulta Beauty's TikTok shop, with stores following on August 23rd, which is a very different consumer journey than we're used to seeing, which is like just seeing the ad, remembering the product, looking it up later, and then finding somewhere where you could buy it. TikTok Shop is basically collapsing that marketing funnel. So you can discover Ice Spice's fragrance because you're watching her content, you're interested in the product, and then you buy it without ever leaving that platform like TikTok. For a beauty retailer, that is a really big thing because the discovery is becoming the commerce now. And Ulta is basically saying if that's where people are finding beauty, then that's where we're going to be, right? But at the same time, they're making another really big move. I just saw recently that they're leaving Target, where you've seen those Ulta stores inside all the Target. They have officially ended that partnership. It had grown to over 600 Target locations. And my initial thought was that, oh gosh, Ulta is going to lose all that foot traffic that they normally see in Target. But then the more I thought about it, I realized, like, what does Ulta actually want to do next? And even thinking about it, I wasn't in the Ulta in Target all the time. If I was going to Ulta, I was going to Ulta. So I don't know. I mean, other people shop differently, but it's interesting. Their next move is that obviously Target's not going to get rid of beauty. They're going to actually try to make it their own. So they're going to launch the Target Beauty Studio. And I even saw this. I walked into Target yesterday and saw it was under construction. So in all those 600 stores plus, they're going to have the Target Beauty Studio with beauty advisors, expanded assortments, and then more of that experiential component where I think the Ulta before in the Target stores is just kind of a little deserted area, little just pop-up kind of thing. So I think that's going to be really interesting. They are doubling down on the physical retail and in-store experience, where Ulta seems to be doubling down on specialty beauty, different experiences, creators, social commerce, all that, and being discovered digitally instead of actually in the store, which is very different. And so I think we're looking at, in the future, I think influencer commerce is going to be a bigger thing where, you're going to buy directly from that creator on TikTok instead of just having that creator influence.
Yeah, I think it sounds a little scary too, just because it's such an easy click to add to cart than
Yeah.
probably it has been in the before. But I think that these brands are really excited by that aspect because obviously they want your sale and they want you to keep buying from them. I completely agree with you about the whole influencer of it all. Like a lot of things that I've bought in past have been because an influencer has recommended it to me. It's not every influencer, right? I think we all have our own influencers that we like to follow.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting to see. And from a beauty perspective, just being a big fan of rare beauty, I know that like they've had exclusives with Ulta and Sephora before, and having to get those online or in store. So I think just adding it to be able to be sold on TikTok Shop gets a way to be sold quicker, to see the reaction from the public a little bit quicker than you would just on your normal website. And I think, you need to have your in-person stores and you need to have your online business. I think this is just taking that online business a step further.
Agreed.
I will say though, with the Ulta being in Target, I was always afraid to shop in it because
I feel like they're going to think I'm stealing.
Yeah, there was always a worker there asking you if you needed help. And I am the type of shopper where I'm like, please leave me alone.
Yeah, don't talk
If
to
I
me.
need you, I will come find you. And I don't know if it's like you had to pay for it right then and there. I don't think so. I think you just
No,
to the
but that's
checkout.
how it
But
felt because I felt
yeah,
weird taking anything from the Ulta section into the Target store.
yes, I agree. So, I think they tried something new that just in this case didn't work out.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, that has been the end of our episode today. We want to thank you guys for spilling and spiraling with us. Hopefully you have. Reach out to us if you have any other topics that you want us to cover, and we hope you join us next week for more spilling and spiraling a dog bucket.
Thanks, guys.